Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the fourth and final video from my trip to Panama back in March, and I've got a lot of great birds to show you in this video. More so, I think, than in the first three videos, because this video covers the day that I spent birding with a hired guide. And that really makes a big difference when you're birding in a different part of the world from where you live. So I'm filming this video from back home in Massachusetts in early July. I didn't film myself talking at all during the day that I spent with the guide because I really wanted to just focus on seeing and photographing as many birds as possible during that day. So to hire a guide, I used a company called Whitehawk Birding, which specializes in tours and guiding in Central America. I found them just from an internet search, but I was extremely happy with the service they gave me and the whole experience. And in particular, the guide that I assigned me, Michael Castro, was really fantastic. He was just unbelievably good at spotting birds and getting me on those birds. And in addition, he was a really easygoing guy that was fun to spend time with. So I really enjoyed the whole experience. And I'll put a link to Whitehawk Birding in the description below this video in case any of you are interested in doing some birding in Panama. So Michael, my guide, picked me up at my hotel a little bit before 6 a.m. and it was only about a 15-minute drive to our first birding location. So we were out with a very early start. I think it was actually a little before sunrise when we were starting. The first location that we visited was called Ammo Dump Ponds, and it's a well-known local hotspot that's right near the Chagres River. The first bird we spotted was this rufescent tiger heron. I got some footage of it doing a sort of neck swaying thing that it likes to do. I was actually still struggling with my camera lens being fogged over at this point because it was such a warm, humid morning and the camera was still cool from my air-conditioned hotel. That was still the case when I was photographing this lineated woodpecker, which is a relative of the pileated woodpecker found in the US and Canada. This yellow-rumped cacique was neat to see because it's quite a well-known species. It lives in very large breeding colonies, although I only saw this one. This whooping motmot is a really good-looking bird and one of the more sought-after ones to see when you come to Panama. I ended up getting some better footage of a different bird later in the day, but in this footage here you can see the long central tail feathers that have little paddles at the end. This boat-billed flycatcher is the largest and largest billed of several related flycatchers that have yellow bellies, brown backs, and black and white on the head. And here I got some better footage of the rufescent tiger heron in better light and after my camera lens became completely unfogged. Once again, it's doing this little neck swaying thing, which is kind of interesting. This species reminds me of American bittern, which is a bird that you can see in Massachusetts and many other areas farther north. And here on the same branch is a green iguana, something that we would see fairly often in Panama. This is a Panama flycatcher. It's a Myiarchus flycatcher, which is the same family that has great crested flycatcher and ash-throated flycatcher. And here's a rusty margin flycatcher, another one of the same type with the yellow bellies. I've seen this one already in Panama and put it in a video. And black-bellied whistling duck was another nice one to see. I have seen this one before in both Florida and Texas, but it's always fun to see them with their pink bills and the little eye ring that they have. Very cute ducks. After finishing our birding at the Ammo Dump Ponds location, we made just one more short stop before heading to Pipeline Road, which was our main birding destination for the day. This second location was just on the other side of the river, and it consisted of a short stretch of abandoned highway that was bordered on one side by thick rainforest. Here's my guide, Michael, working hard to find some good birds for me. As you'll see, he definitely succeeded. This is a fun bird that's pretty common in Panama, gray-headed chachalaca. They're about the size and shape of a large chicken, and they're quite noisy. This white-bellied antbird is a forest bird that we had to work hard for. I ended up with just this one photo and a very short video clip that I'll play a few times. Here's a really beautiful bird, a blue dacnus. This one came close and let me get some video. I really love seeing any bird that's blue. Here's another bird that just popped up briefly, streaked saltator. Quite a sturdy bill that no doubt lets it eat just about anything. And here's one of the highlights of this stop, a green shrike vireo. This is one of the few times that my guide was sort of excited by something that we saw. He said it was unusual to get such a good look at this species. Despite the bird being so close, with its green color, it really blends in with the leaves. Every once in a while, we'd come across a familiar neotropical migrant like this bay-breasted warbler. And here's the first of 3 different trogon species that I would see during the day, a gartered trogon. These large and colorful birds are obviously a highlight for birders visiting from the north, like myself. Fortunately, trogons tend to be slow-moving and cooperative birds that give good looks. And the last bird from this location was this purple gallinule hiding in the long grass next to the river. After that short second stop, we headed to our main birding location for the day, which is Pipeline Road. This road actually has a pretty interesting history. It was built back during World War II when a pipeline was built across Panama to carry fuel oil from one ocean to the other, just in case the Panama Canal was knocked out of commission. Turned out that the pipeline was never used, but the road is still there and it's used today for birding. It's actually just a narrow, bumpy gravel road that cuts right through the thick rainforest and gives you access to areas that would otherwise be very difficult to reach. At the entrance to the pipeline road, we stopped briefly and picked up a roadside hawk perched right next to the road, appropriately enough. We also saw this basilisk lizard, which is famous for being able to walk on water, or at least run on water. This violet-bellied hummingbird was only the 3rd hummingbird species that I was able to see and photograph on this trip. As I mentioned in an earlier video, that was the only slightly disappointing aspect of the birding on this trip, as I had expected to see more hummingbirds.
Wow, you can see the ants running. Jesus Christ.
Here's another whooping motmot, a bird I'd already showed earlier in this video, but this is some better footage. One of the best ways to find birds in the rainforest is to locate an ant swarm, because there's many species that just follow ants around. We heard from another bird guide that there was an ant swarm a little farther up the road, so we headed there directly. And right away we picked up a bunch of new species, including this handsome northern barred woodcreeper, one of the largest of the many woodcreeper species found in the tropics. That bill looks like a weapon made out of metal. There were several of these cute little spotted ant birds feasting on the ants. Gray-headed tanager is one of the more common and conspicuous birds found inside the rainforest. There's a lot of bird research and monitoring performed along Pipeline Road, which no doubt explains why this bird is banded. This cinnamon woodpecker was a really neat one to see. It doesn't look anything like the woodpeckers we have in the US, and I enjoyed watching it feed on ants for several minutes. This fasciated ant shrike was another cool one to see with its intricate black and white plumage. Check out the wicked hook on the end of that bill. Bicolored antbird is another common rainforest species that I saw in several different locations. A few kilometers in along the Pipeline Road, you come to a ranger station, and then there's a gate across the road. After this point, if you want to go any farther, you have to walk. And this is when it really starts to feel like you're getting away from everything and into the real rainforest. A couple of coati were hanging around the ranger station looking for handouts. These guys are really cute with their ridiculously long striped tails. My guide affectionately described them as the laziest animals in the world. As we continued along the Pipeline Road on foot, we had a target species in mind, which was a great putu, which was known to be in the area. This bird is also known as the stump bird because of its amazing camouflage. Unfortunately, we had just heard from another guide that it wasn't being seen at its usual roost. Fortunately, my guide was somehow able to relocate it in a different area up in this tree. Can you see the putu? How about now? Here's a slightly better view where you can see the tail sticking down below the branch. And here's a close-up view of the head. The putu is facing to the left, and you can just make out its bill on the left side. Although this bird does have an amazing resemblance to a stump, it was still an exciting experience and one of my favorite lifers from the trip. A little later on, we came across a group of trogons containing two different species. The first one was white-tailed trogon, which was yet another lifer for me. I thought it was funny how it was flicking its tail in time with its calls. The second one was slaty-tailed trogon, which I had already seen near my hotel the day before, which I was very happy to see again. Here's a section of the original pipeline. As I mentioned earlier, it seems that it was never used, since fortunately the Panama Canal remained operational throughout World War II. The next two birds are two of the more desirable birds in Panama. Unfortunately, the day had become overcast, making it extremely dark under the canopy of the rainforest. This one is a blue cotinga, which happens to be on the cover of my Panama bird guide, so you know it's a good bird to see. This is a very nice field guide, by the way. I do recommend it. And this one is a red manakin, the only manakin sighting I had on this trip, but quite a poor photo due to distance and low light. My guide heard the speckled mourner calling from the road, and we ventured into the forest to find it. This is another one where my guide actually got a little bit excited to see the bird, so I guess it's not such an easy one to see. While we were looking for the mourner, we also saw this white-whiskered puffbird, which, although common, was my first of the trip. It's actually calling quietly, but it's kind of hard to hear. Then, as we were driving back out, we came across another puffbird and got some better footage from the front. This was my last bird of the trip, so it was nice to end on a high note with this great look at a cool tropical bird. Okay, that's a wrap for this video because the next morning I was on a plane headed back to Boston. So just to briefly summarize the trip, I was in Panama for exactly 1 week, but most of that time was spent indoors at a conference, and I was really only able to focus on birding for the last 2.5 days. During that time, I saw a total of 138 bird species, of which 68 were lifers. I was also able to add 80 birds to the channel life list, which is a running list of all the birds that I've been able to see well and show in these YouTube videos. And those are the numbers that you've been seeing in the lower right-hand corner of the screen during these videos. So if you enjoyed this video and you haven't seen the earlier ones in the series, please feel free to check out the first 3 videos from this trip to Panama. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.